Go ahead, sister. You can ask the brother your question.
Okay. My last question is, in the Mahdi banner, is the color red in the Mahdi banner?
Could you repeat that, please?
Yes, the color red. Now let me make something clear to you. In the Sudan, we usually recognize it as orange, right?
All right.
But the color red is there because the red symbolizes something not evil, but something that was evilly perpetrated against us, which resulted in our bloodshed. But now I want you to make note of something. Notice that the Mahdi had black first. And this didn't come from Marcus Garvey. Marcus Garvey got his flag from us, because the Mahdi was born before Marcus Garvey. So that red, black, and green flag that's been used in this country was the Mahdi's flag in Sudan in the 18th century, before Marcus Garvey was born, okay?
Okay.
Notice how he put black first, because when the British came to Africa, there was red, black, and green. When the battle was over, he made the flag black, red, and green. He said he put his nation of people first because they will never bleed again if he can help it. You understand? The blood was first originally. The blood, red, black, the people, and then Mother Africa. The Mahdi changed it around. He said, no, it's black, the people first. Then the blood that was shed for Mother Africa. And we will never bleed again. And when we become a powerful nation here, if you're listening to me, we're going to go home and help Africa. You understand?
Okay.
We're going to take South Africa and restore it to who it belongs to. That's our job. And if the South Africans don't want our help, we'll still take it and give it to them. Because that's our job. We have to go home and help our brothers and sisters. Stop trying to become Americans. Because regardless of how much American you want to be, your nose ain't going to let you be white anyway. And you can't shadow out that nose. You can blush it, you can brush it, you can stretch it, you can paint it, but after that, when you take a bath, you're still an African. You ain't going to look white regardless of what you try to do. You can put all the white powder on and then let me see you go swimming and stay looking like that. You are African people. And we have an obligation to use the information that we have attained while here incarcerated to help Mother Africa. Do you all understand that? Stop helping ourselves to everything. We got to start thinking about helping our homeland. Let me tell you something. The white man tells you to go back to Africa, he's telling you a big, bold-faced lie. If all the blacks want, if the white man believes that, why they stop Marcus Garvey? Ain't no way in the world, the last thing in the world the white man wants is me and you to leave America and go back to Africa. Don't you know that all of the natural resources in Mother Africa? Now I say this, but this is not for the old timers. What I'm going to say now is for the new people, okay? The new visitors. I want you to think about this now. I want you to really dwell on this. Diamonds, gold, platinum, onyx, ivory, all of the natural resources that make up the wealth of the world are found in Africa, including oil. Yes or no? Yes. They just say yes if it's true. All right. Now, you don't find this in Europe, do you? No. Now, who makes diamonds? Man or the Creator? Who makes oil? Man or the Creator? Who makes gold? Man or the Creator? Who makes platinum? Man or the Creator? Who makes onyx? Man or the Creator? Who makes ivory? Man or the Creator? So who did the Creator love the most? Us or Europeans? Somewhere along the line, we gave away. The Heavenly Father entrusted me and you with all the natural resources in the world. He intended for us to be the richest people on the planet. And here we are, the poorest, the lowest of the low, receiving welfare money from money coming out of our mother country. And he wouldn't have no money if he didn't have gold. A white man can't even get married without African sanctioning, because he has a policy that he must give a woman a gold ring and a diamond. It's called engaged, and then he can have sex. So without that engagement ring, without Mother Africa, the white man would have no woman. Another thing I want to say. You know what that is? If the Pope and the Christian church is so right, are you with me? How come ain't no oil in the Vatican? How come the Almighty gave it to the Arabs for Islam? He didn't give it to the Christians through the Pope or Jimmy Swagger or Jim Baker. They got to go steal from their congregations to get rich. The Arabs were living over in the desert. They didn't even know how to brush their teeth. And oil popped up out the ground, and now they're the richest people in the world, right? Now you know that's another part of the world that's supposed to be ours, because the Holy Quran tells you those desert Arabs are the biggest phonies you ever want to meet. Right. That's also our oil, but we didn't listen to the Mahdi in 1845, and we would have went back as a hadith taught and conquered Mecca with a black flag, like the Prophet taught, but we didn't listen. We opposed him because he was black, and now we're back here still in America on welfare, working for the white man.
This is where we lived, the Richard Allen Project of North Philadelphia. My father deserted us when I was 3, so occasionally my mother had to take welfare. But she didn't like it, so she took work as a domestic servant whenever she could. Back then, welfare wasn't a way of life. My mother only received $25 a week. Almost any job paid more than that. So even if she wanted to stay on welfare, she had very little incentive to do so. I came from a broken home, but in my day that was unusual. Black families were almost as stable as white families. The black family did not start falling apart until the 1960s, as more blacks were lured into the welfare culture.
And this came in 2 ways. One way was that prevented the formation of families, that is, fostered illegitimacy. And it's easy to understand how this happened. Just imagine that you're a 16-year-old girl in some ghetto apartment. You scarcely know your father. He occasionally visits. Perhaps he's drunk a lot of the time. He doesn't have a job. Your mother is under terrible stress trying to discipline her boys. We're often out in the streets in gangs. The neighborhood is rife with crime. Within the household itself, there are serious tensions between you and your mother. It's just a very difficult and trying way of life. And the government, however, offers a deal to this 16-year-old girl. It says you can leave all this. You can have liberation in an apartment of your own. You can have access to some 17 different social programs. You can have free medical care, free legal assistance if you need it. You can have several $100s a month free, all on one condition. And that one condition is that you have an illegitimate child. And this isn't a racial problem. It's nothing to do with blacks as a race. Indeed, in Sweden, where they have an even more ample welfare state, 40% of all Swedish children are born out of wedlock.
In my day, no able-bodied adult male could receive welfare or even live in a household that received welfare. We were lucky. There was no way we could be sucked into the welfare trap.
When you talk about young men getting into the working market, labor force during the 1960s, I think one of the saddest stories is that they were told not to do those things which were eventually going to bring them out of poverty permanently. Which is to say that a young man, before the advent of a lot of these changes, not only had to hang on to that, in quotes, dead-end job. By hanging on to it, he was also establishing a record as a reliable worker, and as time went on, he had more and more chances to establish a more secure job and get a better income. Once it became more rational for him to drift in and out of the labor market, having a job for a while, then not having a job and putting together a package of welfare benefits, perhaps getting some money from a woman he was living with, perhaps getting some money in the underground economy. That would increase his income in the short term. But when he got to be 23, 24 years old, he had already labeled himself, in his own eyes and in the eyes of the labor market, as an unreliable worker who is qualified only for the worst possible jobs.
In other words, the welfare state tells you that you're optional, that all your struggles, all your labors in the workforce are unnecessary, that, as a matter of fact, that you can support your wife and children best by leaving them. That's the deal that the welfare state offers the man in the ghetto. And not surprisingly, over the years, increasing numbers of men have left their families in the ghetto.
Back in my day, to be called a welfare kid was almost as bad as being called a nigger. But because of so-called welfare reforms, many of the kids who live here know nothing else. They may never learn to pull themselves out of poverty one step at a time. Like some giant drug pusher, their government has lured them into dependency on a system that will maintain them in permanent poverty. In every respect, welfare reform has backfired. 20 years after we declared war on poverty, poverty has won.